In today's video, we're going to talk about the top ways you can budget your money. You work too hard for your money to just let it do what it wants and let it be in control of you. We've got to flip the switch and you need to be in control of your money. And one of the ways that you can do that is through budgeting. Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Laura Ann Moore and I post videos all about money, mindset and motivation to help you transform your relationship with money, get financially confident and building wealth and living your best life. When people hear the word budget, they literally want to run a mile, right? They're like, oh my God, it means I can't spend on the things that I love. No, not true. Actually, it's actually quite the opposite. When you create a budget or a spending plan for your money, it means that you can spend more on the things you love and just less on the things you don't. And it helps give your money a purpose. Now, I learned pretty early on, I think, that budgeting is something that you can use to help you stay out of debt. It can help you work towards your financial goals and be prepared for the future. And it can help you do the things that you want to do in your life so that you're not a prisoner to money. When I was 19 and I got my first full-time job, I started budgeting without kind of realizing I was budgeting. And then over time, I kind of realized what it was and how it was helping me live my life. What I basically did was, from scratch, I created this spreadsheet with different formulas that calculated different things because I'm a little bit of an Excel geek. And I would forecast my month. So I would say, I know that I'm going to get X amount every single month. And then I know that with that money, I need to do X, Y, and Z. This budget forecast is the thing that you essentially do before you get paid or on payday. And it's going to be the way that you plan to spend your money. And then throughout the month, you can do spending tracking. So basically making sure that you are staying on top with your budget, that you're actually doing the things that you said you're going to do. And if expenses crop up or you go over budget in certain categories, you can be aware of it and make sure that you're not getting into debt and that you're still living within your means. Now for me, like I said, I did it all on a spreadsheet, but there are different ways you can do it. So you can do it by a spreadsheet. You can do it using an app. There are loads of apps out there like Emma, Money Dashboard, and you can also do it classic with a pen and paper. Now, completely up to you the way you want to do it. There's loads of different ways, but I wanted to talk about some of the top methods that you can use to budget and talk about the budgeting method that I use. Now, one of the things that I always think about is I see budgeting as something really personal and individual to you. It's kind of like if you tried to do somebody else's diet and exercise plan, you wouldn't then just look the same as them because our bodies are different. We need a different amount of calories. We need different movement. Everyone is different. If you try to copy somebody's exact style of budgeting, it might not work for you. So what you need to do is adapt a certain method to you, and sometimes this just takes trial and error. Sometimes you just got to try it out, see how it goes, see if you like it, and you're either going to stick to it or you're not, and then you can try a different method. Now, if you've tried one method of budgeting and you felt like it didn't work for you for whatever reason, don't be going around and saying out loud, oh no, I can't budget, I can't budget, I tried it, it didn't work for me. No. Because did you try all of the other methods? Did you adapt it to your style? Did you review, see what went wrong, see how you could have fixed it? And language is powerful. If you go around saying, I can't budget, well, the chances are you're probably not going to be able to budget because you're telling yourself you can't budget. So what we want to do is find a method that works for you and start to just implement it into your life. Now, in this video, we're going to give a brief overview of some of my favorite types of budgeting methods, the pros, the cons, how they can work for you. The 5 types of budgeting methods that I'm going to go over in this video are the zero-sum based budget, the 50-20-30 method, the 60% solution, the cash envelope method, and then value-based budgeting. Number 1 is a zero-sum based budget. Now, this is one of my favorites, and it's one of the ones that I've been using since I was like 19, and I do a very similar one to that now. It's sort of based around the zero-based budget, but I've adapted it more as time's gone on. Now, the point of a zero-sum based budget is that you give every single pound you make a job. Any money that you have coming in, whether that's from an income, birthday money, leftover money from the month before, a side hustle, it gets a place to go. So instead of your money being in control of you, you are taking control of your money and you're saying, I'm going to pick exactly how I spend my money. A lot of people see it as way too restrictive and a bit overwhelming to do. For me, it was perfect because I'm a little bit of a control freak. So that allowed me to be in control of every single pound and penny. But it might not be the one for you. So let's have a breakdown of how it works. Now, just because you're giving every single pound a job, it doesn't mean that you're spending every single pound. Some of that money, its job will be to go into savings and to investments and into a pension. So you're giving it a job, but that job isn't necessarily to spend the money on something. Every single month, the sum starts at 0. Then what you do is you factor the money that's coming in and you've got a total, and then you factor the money going out. And by the end of it, the number should be back down to 0 because you've given every pound a job. Personally, I like to do this method by using a budget spreadsheet. So using Excel and having it all mapped out, formulaed, worked out for me. And I have one that I've used since I was 19, so nearly like 10 years now. And if you would like a copy, you can download it free from the link below in the description. I like to break it down into different categories of allocation. So I've got my fixed expenses, my financial goals, my variable expenses, and then my events and other, and then remaining money. And I like to work them out in that order of priority. So let's just do an example. Let's say every month I made £2,000. You take a look at what your fixed expenses are. So these are the things that you have to pay for. They're on a direct debit. It could be things like your rent, your mortgage, your car insurance, your gym, your phone bill, etc. They're fixed at a specific amount on a specific date. Let's say that came to a total of £1,200. I've started with 2,000. I'm going to minus the £1,200 for my fixed expenses, and that leaves me with a total of £800. Then I take a look at how much I want to put aside for my financial goals. So saving, investing, and let's say I wanted to put away £300. So 800 minus that £300 that I know is going to go into my savings and investments, that's going to leave me with £500. From that £500, you could then break it down into your variable expenses and your events and other things that you know you need to spend money on for the month. So let's say, for example, you know you spend about £100 on groceries and food, you spend about £100 on petrol, you've got a dentist appointment that's coming up and that's going to cost you 50 quid, and then you know you're going out for dinner with a friend at a fancy restaurant and that's going to cost you another £50. They're things that you know you have to pay for in the month, but they're not coming out on a specific day or at a specific amount. You're setting how much you want to spend. So those variable expenses come to £300. So from the £500 that I have left over, minus the £300 for the variable expenses, that leaves me with £200. Then the leftover £200 remaining pounds, you've got two options. You can either choose to allocate it specifically. You say, I'm going to spend £100 on entertainment and £100 on clothes. Or you could just say, that £200 I'm just going to spend throughout the month however I like on shopping, entertainment, whatever, but you don't actually need to categorise it. That's up to you. But at the end of the process, you've got essentially £0 left because every pound has been given a job. Even though that last £200 you might just say in general is going to be for general monthly spending, you've given it a job. Every single pound has a job. It's your choice how restrictive and strict and specific you get. That's totally up to you. But the point is that all of the money has been allocated. There's nothing left over, and you know that your money is going to places that you feel comfortable with. So to break it down simply, what you would do is you would start with a monthly amount coming in. You would then minus the amount that you know you have for your fixed expenses, minus the amount that you know you need or want to put away into your financial goals, minus the amount for your variable expenses and other things that you have to spend for the month. And then there might be a bit of money remaining that you could either choose to categorize or just know that you're going to spend as general monthly spending. But at the end, it should equal 0. That is how you do a zero-based sum budget. You give every single pound a job. Now, the good thing about this method is that money can't escape from you. You can see exactly where your money is going and you get to pick, you get to decide, and you're in control. The issue with this one for a lot of people is that it takes a lot of time. You have to really sit down, spend time, and you really have to understand your own spending habits and how much you usually spend on things every month so that you understand how much you need to allocate to each category. Another issue with this one is unless you've planned for it, there's not really much room for like spontaneity, and if it's not planned for, then you usually don't spend money on it. So for me, even though I use a very similar method to this, I've actually started to get a little bit more relaxed in the way I categorize and break it down. And the way that I track this throughout the month is I have 3 separate accounts. So I have my bills account where the money goes in and my bills come out. I have my investments and savings account where that money goes for my financial goals, and then I have a Monzo card where all my remaining leftover money, so that's my variable expenses, my events, and just my leftover money, it goes onto my Monzo, and then I use the Monzo budgeting app to break it down into categories there. And I do that because then I know that I'm not going to be spending my bills money with my general monthly spending. But I can do another video on that at another point. Method number 2 is the 50-20-30 rule. This is a very common method because it's not as restrictive as the zero-based sum method. It essentially breaks it down into percentages. So 50%, 20% and 30%. And that makes up the 100% of your income. The breakdown is that you spend 50% on your needs and the essentials, 20% on your financial goals, and then 30% on your wants and your general spending. So the 50% of needs are the things that you basically need to spend money on to survive. Your rent, your water, your food, your travel, etc. That's what falls into the 50% category. The 20% for your financial goals are things like your savings, long-term, medium-term, short-term, your emergency fund, your investments. And then the 30% is just the rest of your spending. It's your wants. It's the going out with friends, the takeaways, the clothes, the things you spend on your hobbies. They're things that you could live without, but they're the things that are fun and make our lives enjoyable. But unlike the zero-based sum budget, the wants still includes what I class as fixed expenses. Things such as Netflix, your gym subscription. So even though they're things that come out as a specific amount and on a specific date, they're still classed under the category of wants because you definitely could live without Netflix and you definitely could live without the gym. But that's the category, and that's how the 50-20-30 budget likes to break it down. Now, the great thing about this method is it's actually really easy to do. There's loads of templates out there that help you track your percentages, and it also helps you really see where you're overspending. So if you work out all your money and you realise that you're actually spending 80% on needs, so like rent and food, etc., perhaps that will help you understand maybe your rent is too high and you need to move, or your bills are too high and you need to haggle them down, or that you're not making enough money and you need to find ways to increase your income. But the downside to this one is that the method is so simple that actually it could be too simple, and you have to get really comfortable with not knowing all of the tiny little details of where your money is going, because all you're doing really is breaking it into 3 big categories. Now for me, it's far too simple, but that is also because I'm a little bit of a control freak, but some people love this method. The other thing to be aware of is that it can actually be easier to overspend in specific categories because you're only actually breaking your money down into needs, goals and wants. Within those sections, it's harder to tell whether you're spending too much money on something specific, but you could give it a go and see if it works for you. Number 3 is the 60% solution. So this is really similar to the 50-20-30 method, but the difference is the way that you split the money out. You spend 60% on your committed spending. Now this could be a combination of needs and wants, but it's anything that you are committed to paying. So anything like rent, mortgage, utility bills, gym, Netflix, they're the things that are going to come out of your bank account no matter what, because maybe you've got a monthly direct debit or standing order set up, or you're signed up to something. Whatever it is, it's a committed expense. And this would still include things that you don't always know the cost of. For example, your food bill. You might spend slightly different amount every single time you go shopping, but you're committed to paying that expense because you need food to live. And then that remaining 40% is split down into 4 chunks of 10%. So you've got 10% that goes towards your retirement, 10% towards your long-term investments, 10% towards your short-term savings goals, and then 10% is fun money. So that's things like eating out, shopping, etc. Now the great thing about this method is that it really forces you to prioritize the things that you've committed to paying for, and it also helps you understand, if you look at all of your commitments that you have to pay and you realize that that's way above 60%, it's going to help you start to make changes to the way that you're spending your money and the things that you're committed to. And also it really helps you prioritize your future and think about how to plan for the future, because factored into that money is 10% on retirement, 10% on long-term investments, and 10% on short-term savings. So that's 30% of your income going towards future plans and financial stability. Now the downside to this is I think that some people wouldn't like that they're only allowed to spend 10% on fun money, but everybody's different, so try it out and maybe see if it works for you. The fourth method is cash envelopes. Now this is a great method if you are somebody that struggles with impulse spending, and also if you're a very visual person. What you essentially do is you withdraw your money in cash every month, and then you split it down into envelopes, and you label each of those envelopes with the name of the category that you're allowed to spend that money on. For example, eating out, food shopping, petrol, etc. What this does is it helps add friction to how you're spending and when you're spending money, because if every time you're spending you have to go into your bag, open up the envelope, you can see how much cash is left, you're taking from it, it's going to make you very aware of how much you're spending, because it can be so easy to just tap 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 on your credit card and not be aware of how that's affecting your bank balance, and without even realizing how much you're actually spending. So if you can physically see the cash going down in front of you, in front of your eyes, then you're potentially likely to spend less money, because when that envelope is empty and there's no cash left, well then there's nothing left to spend in that category. One of the biggest issues with this method is that cash isn't as safe as having a debit or a credit card. First of all, you run the risk of losing it or having it stolen. And if you spend over £100 on a credit card, then you're actually covered by the Section 75 of the Consumer Act. And basically, if anything goes wrong, the goods aren't delivered or they're faulty, it's actually the credit card's responsibility to get your money back. Also, to add to this, you would need to make sure that you were still leaving some money in your account for your bills to come out, because you're not going to rock up to the bank and pay your rent or your electricity bill with cash. But I know heaps of people that have used this method and it's really worked for a short period of time, and you could give it a go and it might just help you become more self-aware of how you're spending your money. Number 5 is value-based budgeting. So this is a great method for people who are already really confident with their finances and are really good with money management. Now the aim is essentially to spend money based on what you value and not based on specific categories. Now the idea behind this is that you're someone who is already confident in how they're handling their money, where their finances are going, that you're putting away money for your future, for your retirement, and that you're confident with the general direction that you're headed. And then this way you get to spend your money on what you value in life, and you get to basically do more of what you love without being too restrictive or counting every single pound. Now if you've just recently got into budgeting or you're just starting out, this probably isn't the best method for you, because what you want to do is start to get a handle on putting money away for the future, learning how to create and how to implement a spending plan, and all of those things first before you start to use this method. Now, one of my favourite American personal finance gurus, his name is Ramit Sethi, and he has got a book and a website called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. He's amazing. He talks basically about cutting back costs mercilessly on the things that you don't care about and spending more money on the things that you love and bring joy into your life. And that is essentially encapsulates what the value-based budget is about. It's about getting rid of the things that you don't really want to spend money on and that don't bring you joy, and inviting more of the things that really bring you joy into that spending plan. So that is an overview of 5 budgeting methods that you can try and see how they work for you. Now you might find that you start on one and it works perfectly. You might find that you have to go through all 5 to figure out which one is best for you. But this is about long-term gain. It might be a bit frustrating to have to keep changing your budgeting method every month, but when you find one that sticks, it is going to be like, and you will feel like you can save more, invest more, you'll feel more in control and confident with your finances, and it's going to help you live within your means. Now if you would like a copy of my free monthly budget template, then you can download it using the link below, and you will get an email straight into your inbox to download it. Hopefully that helped, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.